when you live, you must live well. And by well, I don't mean it's only a show of good food, good holidays, good clothes, good homes, because there's no end to that. It's a good soul, an enriched soul, because that's the only time at the end of the day you will sleep peacefully. Spirituality is not something necessarily of religion, but there is a supernatural power who's omnipresent, who's omnipotent, and who we're answerable to ultimately. Now that keeps me grounded.
Spirituality, interesting, like our grandmother did for both of us. You just stick to it,
exactly.
And then you don't take it as a chore.
You take
it
as a story. It's a story unfolding in front of me, and I wanted to know the next chapter.
Hi, Ameesha.
Hi.
Lovely to have you here. Of course, I know you for, I don't want to say decades, but let's say ever. And I've seen you through the years. And of course, you look as stunning or even more now than what I saw you in college, which is great. So I always believe beauty is within and outside. That makes a person beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I've always seen you come across as somebody who is both. Okay, so let's start with our chat, Ameesha. So you've been part of the industry for a long time, quite some time, and with lovely, cherishable moments, I'm sure. What ignited your path to spirituality?
So I think my spiritual journey didn't start in the quintessential, stereotypical way of getting spiritual. I think it came through many means. Two of those means were probably music, which leads to meditation. I'm a person who listens to, you won't be able to tell that from maybe my glamorous personality that is in front of the camera, but from Jagjit Singh ghazals right to Julio Iglesias, who I love. And I can listen to Spanish music, French, to Gypsy Kings, to the current trending music. So music gives me a sense of calm, but I'm an avid reader. I read almost a book a week. Time permitting, I try and grab 15 minutes before bed, maybe first thing in the morning, on long flights, in between shoots, on the set. A lot of these books, when I was reading them, I would write notes and I would refer back to them maybe a year later and say, how much have I changed as a person from then? Have I grown? Have I enriched my mind, my soul? Because bank balance can go up and down. What is really important is to enrich your soul. And that's a journey I embarked on very early. And I think maybe I grew up before my time as well. But I think that was my soul nourishment.
Amazingly put, because I always feel devotion, as we say in spirituality. It is always said by seers that the best way to connect and feel devotional is music. So music could be of any kind, like you said. It could be, of course, singing the devotional songs or hymns or something which gives you joy. And also they say, I believe that with any profession you do, even it may be business, there has to be a side of you which has to pursue the arts. Because only when you balance the brain, does your brain connect with that universal entity and kind of reaches beyond. So I think you made a very lovely point of connecting not with a typecast music, but with music itself, which is a resonance, which is like a vibration, connects to the divine. And I would also confirm with your second point, which is we call Gyan, knowledge. So reading, whether it's books which inspire you, makes you improve your whole life, it makes you appreciate people, makes you improve your gratitude.
You do your soul searching.
Yeah, so that's another way of, so you've said it very, I must appreciate it, it's a very practical way of looking without doing any, what would I say, prescribed norms or following a path which is prescribed as per the book. So then you have had so much fame, success, adulation. And I see even till date, whenever you go out, you have throngs of people, fans coming to you, photographers wanting to photograph you. So the human mind is such that we always get overwhelmed with what we see and what we are perceived. So how would you deal with this in the sense, of course it's joyful to be sought after, but ultimately, as you say, nothing is perpetual. And everything in life is down and up. So when you get this overwhelming adulation, what do you think in your mind and how do you deal with it?
So I think that first of all, I was very privileged to have an extremely sound education. an extremely grounded upbringing, a very disciplined lifestyle, one that I was never spoilt. I had access to everything, but there was nothing in excess. Nothing in excess was allowed. You had to earn your bit, but you have to work towards it. But I never let fame, name, adulation in my profession get to me because I knew it's very temporary. It can go away in a split second. So don't enjoy your success so much that when a failure hits you, and it will hit you the next Friday, you know. One Friday the public and the industry makes you a hero, and the next Friday they pull you down and make you zero. And it's a very tough thing because it's a public profession. Every single person out there thinks they have a right to judge you.
Tell me one profound point which stays with you till date, something which you presented in this topics. You've mentioned a few of them, which has stayed with you as the most strong part of your life thereafter.
So, you know, Jagjit Singh, who I told you I was a great fan, and he was also my godfather and family friend. Other than his ghazals and his songs that he sung for films, he sung a lot of spiritual, you know, bhajans and things. And there was a very famous ghazal which influenced me a lot. There were 2-3 lines. He said, "Sar jhukaoge to patthar devta ho jayega." Okay. Now it means that this idol or any, it could be Ganesh ji, Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, Lakshmi ji, Hanuman ji, any, or Lord Christ. At the beginning, it's patthar only.
Of course.
And it's carved to give you that idol that you may worship. So sar jhukaoge to patthar bhi devta ho jayega. It's what you pursue. So for me, religion is one, God is one. I may have my preferences, like I love my baby Krishna, I love Hanumanji, I get Shakti from Shivji.
But they're all one.
But they're all one because at the end of it, Hinduism is a philosophy, it's a way of life. And I think you have to take the good from all religions and just, you know, merge it into your own personality to be the best that you can while you're living on this earth.
So do you go to temples and places of worship? And what would you say is what would you say when you go to a place of worship would be your feeling in a word?
Home.
Lovely, profound.
And it doesn't have to be the commercial place that is popular, that, you know, चार धाम को आठ कर दो या आठ धाम को ये कर दो या तिरुपति भी जाना चाहिए इस लाइफ टाइम में या वैष्णो देवी भी जाना चाहिए. For me, मेरा घर का मंदिर उतना ही खूबसूरत and pious है and gives me as much peace as a non-commercial mandir that I go to where I live close by, which is not something that people come. It's not a Siddhivinayak or it's not a Tirupati, but it's home for me.
We talked about, now I must go to a book which you are very fond of reading, which is one book you would mention, which of course to do with connection with your soul and with spirituality, which has really inspired you in your life.
So there's been the Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. Then there's the book called A Bridge Across Forever by Dr. Brian Weiss. He's a psychiatrist. But I think the Bhagavad Gita.
Amazing. For all walks of life, for every person.
All walks of life. It's just lessons for life. It's lessons. It's not something that you have to mug up. It's at every phase of your life you can take something from it.
Yeah.
And just day before I finished reading, there's this author called Amish, and a couple of years ago I had read his trilogy of Shivji.
Shiva. Now it's Rama.
And I just finished Rama's.
Oh wow.
It's Ram, Sita, Ravan, and I just put down Lanka, the last part, and I can say I'm blown. Not because I did not know the story of Ramayana. We studied, you know, we just know the facts of this is supposedly happened in mythology. It's diving deep into it and dwelling to get the deeper meaning and understanding and improving you as a human being. And I think this past 2 months of reading these 4 books of the Ramayana split into 4 has really, really had a significant impact on me.
I'd like to ask a question I think will be useful for children and of course young adults. There's a lot of, like, suppose when you do an exam, the kids, you have a test the next day or you have ICBSE, the papers, there's so much anxiety, and we've heard of course, some unfortunate events where there's so much pressure on the children and they actually harm themselves. And of course, it brings us to an important point of mental health, which is a separate topic. But I would like to understand from you is that, of course, in some way, when a movie releases on a Friday, and I'm sure when Gadar released, which was a hugely successful film of yours, beat all records of all films last year, Touchwood. Uh, what did you feel before the day before it released, and how did you deal with any negativity, anxiety, apprehension which you might have experienced?
So I've been dealing with anxiety ever since school with the exams because
Right.
I think there's so much pressure first from the family you grew up in, everybody to come ace your exams, come first in class, do all that. Then the own competition you build for yourself that I am not good enough until I'm validated by these external factors, approving my grades, proving that I'm good enough. And then you get into a profession like this, which is so public, and that people are judging every move, every walk. And now with social media and everything, it's even worse. So I face a lot of anxiety before my releases, and it's only up till that Friday. I get depressed if a film does not do well on that Friday, and not superbly excited if it does really well. Yes, I'm very happy, but then I can't digest that happiness. I'm like, is it for real? Because it's easier to digest bad news than good news.
That's amazing. How do you, how, it's a very profound statement. How, why do you feel that way?
Because I think in a lifetime, a human being has few good moments and more of bad moments. Our destination is more full of hurdles, till we get to that point, I think, as from a child to an adult to finally, going back to Mother Earth. But we have to grab onto those few good moments and cherish them, because I've seen from my struggles, from everyone around me, however rosy a life looks from the outside, everyone has their share of struggles, and everyone has to realize that there are fewer and far good moments, and you have to live each day, and understand that, okay, bad times will come, get up, fight it, like a soldier on a battlefield. Life is a battle, go into it headlong, like the captain of your ship, face those rough seas. And that's when spirituality really becomes your anchor and your grounding force,
The next discussion which I want to have with you, most human beings, when they reach a particular point in their lives, like successfully, like you, I mean, you had such a huge hit last year. Everybody, you feel happy, you feel joyful, but you also want to cling to that position. And then you start fearing that you may not be able to.
Absolutely.
And then suppose, God forbid, you don't, then
which is going to happen.
Which is going to happen. Now, how do you deal? So let's assume today you're a very sought after personality, and there are cameras all the time when you step out into a function who are wanting to take a picture of yours. What if a couple of years down the road that doesn't happen? How would you be able to deal with it?
It will happen. I won't say that if it happens, I will say it will happen. Looks fade, stardom fades, money fades, you will step aside, your children will take over your chair. There will be a time that, God forbid, we are all bedridden as well, and we'll be clicking those pictures of our youth, we will be clicking those pictures of our achievements, but at that point I want to say it was a life well spent, a life well lived. But for that you have to start that now. You have to be connected to your soul, because like I said, that's all you live with.
I think you brought across a very important point of spirituality, which most seers try and explain, is live in the moment and enjoy it. So when you have this fame and adulation, you cherish it, you like it, but you don't cling on to it.
Don't cling on to it, but it's very difficult to, because you're always, and I find people also put the pressure, like Gadar didn't release 3 days, it had become the biggest, fastest 150 crores by the Monday. Friday it released, by Monday we'd hit 150 crores, it became the biggest 300, fastest 300, then it became the biggest 500 plus, to then break records. to become the biggest hit of the history of Indian cinema, like Gadar 1 had become, broke Shole's records, etc. But people around me also were not letting me enjoy the moment because they're like, Acha, now Gadar, uske baad kya? Now what?
Yeah,
So
I know.
that question, and I actually have to stop people and say, yeah, after you become the biggest hit in the history of Indian cinema, and I've had the privilege to do it twice over with Gadar 1 and with Gadar 2, and now
Enjoy,
at
cherish,
least let
live
me
it,
enjoy. But
appreciate
the
it.
public pressure of
I know.
society around you, and I think as individuals, we need to make it easier for other people too, and not stop asking people, now what next? Like a mother will tell her child, अच्छा बेटा ये exam pass कर अभी बाकी की तैयारी अगले साल की तैयारी is, and that pressure kills a person, and that's why you see so many suicide cases with children, with adults, because they need to conform, they need to validate their success over and over and over and over again.
So I think you've given a very important message to the parents who may be watching this also with their children, is that we must motivate our children to
But
the
not
best,
make their
but
backs break under pressure.
not give them too much pressure. Also, whatever successes they've achieved, to appreciate.
Exactly.
Give them motivation to cherish that achievement. And also not keep thinking about what next. Let's say you're going on a private holiday to a lovely destination for beauty and quietude, and somebody comes and keeps harassing you for selfies and photographs, and they're not giving you privacy. Does it also irritate you at times?
Of course, it irritates you because you're human and you say, oh my God, I need my privacy. And then you take a breath, you step back, and you remind yourself that you are actually living for the public. They have made you who you are. Without their support, without the love of your fans and audiences, you will be nothing. And enjoy the adulation, because one fine day it will go, and then you will miss these moments.
Ameesha, as you said, we've all gone through our own shares of turmoils and problems. Sometimes it's just down and out in life. At those completely dismal times, let's say, we've all experienced, you, me, everybody else. Every human being has their own moments of despair. At that time, how do you deal with that feeling of total, what would I say, total lack
energy,
faith, enthusiasm. You just feel like giving up, depression. You may call it depression clinically, whatever. How would you deal with it at that time, and what would you turn to
First
get
of
you
all,
out
I
of it?
turn to my really close friends like Kunal and his wife Shalu, and I have a good cry. Like, I am not ashamed of crying. I'm not ashamed at all of saying, because I don't think tears are weakness. You have to let your heart out, and I will cry, and I will howl, and I will scream if I have to, and I will cry. I don't think I'm less strong because I cry. I don't think a man is less strong because if he sheds a tear, it's more endearing. It's beautiful to be vulnerable. It's lovely to have a vulnerability about you, have an innocence about you. And then I will look upon God. I will look upon to find my inner strength. Because see, there can be a lot of props to hold you up.
Yeah.
Okay, they can be, but you have to get up and stand. I can't always have a clutch. I can't have a clutch, in friends or family, whoever.
Because you're still depending
Because
on
I have to,
something
yes, and I
outside.
have to find that inner strength in me.
Yeah.
And they may be my medium to finally, take me there. And ultimately, it's always your spiritual self that gets that strength, because you will not stop tossing and turning in that bed of yours alone if you don't have that inner spiritual strength.
Amazing. So somewhere deep down, we have to touch with our inner selves.
Absolutely.
When
Touch our
we go
souls.
through this share of downs, which are down and out in life, to kind of resurrect us and carry on. And I couldn't agree more with you on that. To another thing, since we talk about soul science, which we teach to students, what we call at the end of some chapters, we give topics to the children called soul gyan. Soul gyan. And then so what we can do is, this is the book which basically children study from. And I would just turn to one of the soul gyans, and then I'll just read out a topic to you, and then we can have a discussion, or you can talk, or whatever we want to do. So there's a soul gyan which I've just turned to, which says the key to change is to devote all of your attention to creating the new rather than trying to destroy the old. What does this statement mean to you?
I think something that we've grown up with, that the only thing permanent is change,
Right.
and this is in a way very beautifully said, that latching on to that the way it was, the way things were, a utopian kind of scenario for one's life, and trying to actually say, okay, if that didn't work, let me just finish that and move on, is not the correct way. It's actually adapting to the changing environment, changing a mentality of oneself as you go through each passing phase of your life. And that is what adapting is, what will hold you in good stead. I mean, I think we've come from a generation where we saw no mobile phones. Then we saw the Nokia. There was only SMS and extremely expensive phone calls. And then here we see every person, from a vendor of vegetables on the streets to, every single person has multiple mobiles now, and access has become so much easier, communication has become easier. And so if we had held on to the old or destroyed the old, we wouldn't allow room for progress. Yes, holding on to some ideological values of the old, those shouldn't be destroyed. But moving ahead with time and your changing situations are very important. Even the constitution changes with changing society. A Supreme Court, you have arguments and you change a constitution because you see that people at large change, countries change.
Very well said.
From baby countries, they become third world to second world to first world. With that and changing people, businesses, you have to change even the law of the land. What Lord Ram wrote initially and followed the path of dharma, even Bharat used to tell him, you have to change with the times. So you don't destroy the old good things. You don't try and say that I have to tamper with them, but you build on them to make new changes. I think that's very important.
Amazingly said. Very well.
What would be your perspective?
So it's pretty similar to yours, but obviously I had a learning process in this because I'm a very sentimental, emotional person. So I'll tell you an incident. So my daughter was very dear to my heart. So when she was growing up, she used to, as a child, she was like all the time with me. When I used to get up in the morning, before I used to go to work, in whatever way, she used to supervise my dressing, my clothes.
Typically daddy's little girl.
She used to come to office and play with. I used to kept a toy room for her. So when she started growing up, obviously children have their own lives. So I spoke to a friend. I said, I really miss those times where I used to have her around me all the time, and I actually feel very emotionally fragile when I think, those times never come back. So a friend of mine, Kajal, so she said that exactly what you're saying life changes, everything changes, we change, relationships change, people grow up. You have to enjoy every phase of that. So she's saying that, she told me, which made a lot of sense, saying what she was doing earlier, doing all these little kiddie things which she really cherish, enjoy the things she's doing now with you. You can sit and chat with her as a friend. You can discuss on topics like we are talking. You can discuss on topics about life. You can talk about her friends. You can talk about future. So why that was not there earlier? Today, because of the change,
you can do
that. So it again, for as a soul science, as a spiritual thing, it again makes me emphasize that I really believe that cherishing a moment and living in the moment is the most important thing.
And which none of us actually know how to do. We have to actively
do it.
Learn it.
Yes. And an interesting part, what you said also, I reconnect. Again, from our spiritual books here, what I've understood, like a lot of times we say, okay, anger is not spiritual. That's not what I've understood. Clinging on to anger and holding on to anger and hurting somebody with anger is not good. But technically, your impulses will always react to a situation. So if I'm upset about something, for that moment, it's human. I mean, ultimately, yes, idealistically, I should get over that because I should see it like a movie. I should see it, okay, this is not me, this is transitory, it'll pass. So I should not even get affected by it. But a momentary lapse is fine. As long as we don't, most people, what happens, they cling on to emotions.
See, that is again burning your soul.
Yeah, so they hold on to anger, they hold on to resentment. Suppose I've got something negative going on in my life, I'll keep thinking about it all the time and I'll be like this, dreary. Okay, accept it, and things will sort itself out.
And it'll be a process. It's not going to be overnight.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You don't expect it to.
Yeah.
But learn to adapt, move, be positive. Don't make yourself toxic with negativity.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I think the sentence is trying to say. That let the old go and create something new which you value and cherish.
And that's what we also learn, no? Detachment to certain things. And like you said, life is about action and reaction. Certain situations will get you angry, some will get you happy, some will get you laughing. Life is all about that.
Now let's get to what is a very famous section of every interview is a rapid fire round.
They're also more scary normally.
But we are on the spiritual path, so we're very comfortable. And if you feel scared at any time, ask me the same question and I'll try and be as impulsive as you. So let's go with that. And I'll just, as quick as you can or as short as you can, just answer whatever comes to your, and to your intuitive mind, since you're talking about the soul. Favorite spiritual book or author?
Khalil Gibran, The Prophet, and I think I'm also in love with author Amish. They may not be considered spiritual, but in a way they've awakened my spiritual learning path. You know?
Favorite spiritual quote, if anything comes to your mind?
I think only Ji's ghazal that I mentioned before, the lines that sar jhukaoge to patthar bhi devta ho jayega.
If you were a superhero, what spiritual power would you use to spread what?
I would just use a lot of positivity, to spread. I don't want to say again the utopian things that, stop negativity, stop jealousy, but I would just say to imbibe and infuse positivity in any situation. Look at the cup that's half full rather than half empty, and keep learning from mistakes.
Lovely. Solo prayers, worship, meditation, or group prayers, worship, meditation? What do you prefer?
Solo, 9 out of 10 times. But then, of course, there are times you want to go into group chanting or a satsang or have a big havan and puja and include close friends, family members, well-wishers. Keep Ganesh Ji at home for 3 to 5 days or 11 days of the Ganesh Chaturthi. Have people coming over. At Mahashivratri, have the blessings of God in a public temple and invite everybody that you can with the puja that you could do. So it's different occasions, and when you're down and out, you want a soulful conversation with God, whoever that super being might be, where it's a one-on-one. You want to complain and you want to cry and you want to thank all in one. So
next is not really rapid fire, but please answer it as much as you can. So there's a lot of things to do with manifestation, positive thinking. Do you believe in that power? And if you do, is something which you feel with positive thinking and manifest in your life?
I think, fought my life with positivity and manifesting that it will happen. It will happen. When I have been down and out in my career, when I have not seen a hit film for a long time, for many circumstantial reasons, and maybe nothing to really do with me, maybe the politics of the world or the industry I'm in or whatever it is, I have never let it deter me from my ultimate goal that one day it will happen and it will happen big. And then I think I manifested it so much that Gadar 2 happens and comes like, a banger,
Lovely.
So yeah, I manifest getting over every problem, working towards it. And I think with manifestation comes working hard towards achieving your goal. You can't let out a manifestation and say that, okay, I manifest this to happen. You have to actively work to achieve it, to make it come true. I think that goes hand in hand with manifestation.
So basically, again, taking Gadar as an example, you put positive thoughts for it to become a success. You worked hard, which I saw the result in the film, and that's success.
And the result was probably bigger than I manifested.
That's the power of manifestation.
Absolutely.
Well done.
It
And
gives you
explained.
more than you can even ask for.
Great. One lesson you learned from a very challenging time, which has been very troublesome to you?
Well, I had some unfortunate reasons why I had to leave, and live independently and on my own without any adult supervision. And that time till now is constantly teaching me. And of course, from my first failure, when I was just used to successes, every film that I touched turned to gold. I was known as the lucky charm of the film industry, whether it was Telugu, Tamil, Hindi. I was just getting back to back hits. I was in the Guinness Book of World Records, etc. But then when you hit low, it really hits you hard, and you see people change overnight, and that makes you aware that now, when the hit period starts again, you will know this same world who's pulled you down is going to change towards you again and start sucking up to you or start coming back to you. And there are more people in a good time, only for your good times, and very less in the bad. So stick with the people that are truly there in your bad times with you. They are your true people.
Very good. Amazingly well said. A response that comes to your mind when I say the word soulmate?
I think soulmate is not necessarily a partner, a lover, or anything. It's someone who just understands you in and out. And the person for me, that would be my best friend, my business partner, Kunal. I would say he's my soulmate because in a way we're replicas of each other as well. We're mirrors to each other, and he is not afraid to point out and criticize my bad and tell it as it is, and that's really important for me.
Amazing. Very well said. And I don't have a gift hamper, but I have a toast on my Soul Science black
And
coffee.
we toast to that.
Let's
Thank
do
you.
that. Have a
So this is coffee with Yash.
and a learning session from Sakina stroke Ameesha,
Thank you.
which was amazing.
All the interviews that have always surrounded me has always been about the star Ameesha Patel, the public figure Ameesha Patel, but this is actually the real Ameesha Patel, and that's something you brought out. And I think that is what soul science is. It's about, your real inner self, and very few people realize how important that is, to be your real, true to yourself thing. And introducing this subject, like I said before, it's just incredible, and I'm so proud and happy that my closest friend Yash Birla has done this in his education institution, and I'm very proud to be seated here with him doing this interview. So the pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. Thank you again.